Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Phil Bars, Dan Simpson for episode 204. How we doing, buddy?
All right. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, quite good actually. I had a decent weekend. It was. And I was away, so I got some good. Me and Billy had a good couple of days getting some. Yeah, watching a bit of telly, having a bit of crack. We had a steak night, a boys' steak night. It was quite fun with the kids. Yeah, all right, mate. It's busy. It's always busy. It's constantly busy. But yeah, it's nice to be able to. Weather's getting better. Apparently, we're on for a record temperature tomorrow. I got frustrated with the cobbler today. It's the minutiae of my life. You know, it's who knew what cobblers cost these days? There's a middle class problem for you. How are you? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, look, busy time. Premier League straight to the exhibition, so we've got a bucket load, and we've got some brilliant content as well. There's some great lines dropping over.
You've had a busy out week, haven't you? In the content, I was going to say, is it creation collection? Maybe content collection. I don't know.
Content collection turning into content creation, turning into content distribution.
Yes, very good. That's a good flow chart, isn't it? I like that.
I tell you what, the chat room is rammed already. Dale is in. How we doing? Kevin, Malachi, Mark, how do? Fraser. Oh, don't worry, Fraser. There is plenty coming this week. I can assure you of that. So, just a little bit of a teaser. In the back end of our YouTube channel, I've edited so much today. We have got Fallon Sherrick, Glenn Durrant, Luke Littler, Luke Humphreys, Phil Taylor, Peter Manley, Mark Webster.
You have been a busy boy, haven't you?
So there is plenty.
I didn't know about even some of them are even news to me. That's very exciting for the coming weeks. It gives us plenty to talk about as well, because I'm sure there'll be some interesting takes and views amongst that group.
One of them didn't want to do an interview, but he got very much commandeered into my little room and not given a choice.
Quite right. People shouldn't.
Last suspect, how we doing? Marcus, cheers, buddy. Chris is in. Greatest showman, how do? Shouty Charlie. Oh, I tell you what, it's all superb, isn't it? K-Days, Stu, how we doing, mate? Good to have you in. Hope you are all good. Daniel, how we doing? Rob is in as always. Connor, how we doing? Warren. Oh, I tell you what, we're going through it today, aren't we? This is superb. Muchos gracias. How we doing? Wayne, Sam is in as well. It's absolutely bonkers early doors at the live lounge. This is what we like.
We like it to be busy, don't we?
Yeah, Dylan is in as well. So you lot have all absolutely smashed it. Look, plenty to talk about. Where would you like to go first? Shall we go to Aberdeen? Because there's plenty to talk about on and off the hockey from Aberdeen. First of all, let's do the shit bit. Right at the end, again, the night ruined by mindless idiots in the crowd. The players were taken off stage by security because booze and coins thrown to the stage. It's like, come on, we're better than this, people. It's just like the sport is doing so much good right now, and a couple of pissed up idiots ruining it, and the players taken off stage.
And again, like I'd have them arrested. I'd have them lifted. Like you can, the technology is there. Like tickets are all bought through an electronic system. You can see, you have a camera on it. You watch it back. Yes, you can't do a lot about it in the moment if you can't see who did it, but afterwards it needs to be absolutely zero tolerance, because people need to understand that if they're going to dick about, then it's going to cost them some way or the other. Whether it's that they're going to, be prosecuted, whether it's going to be thrown out, whether they're going to be banned, regardless of what it is, it has to be an absolutely zero tolerance approach, and it has to be acted upon. It's fucking bad, needs sorting out. And also, it's not like Aberdeen is generally a very, very good night for the Premier League. Like there's been some absolutely stonking nights up there, and we get used to getting stuck into crowds when they're a shit crowd or when they start causing problems. like, I'm not suggesting that the crowd need to self-police themselves, because then you probably just end up having more bother than you wanted in the first place. But yeah, not good at all. Not a good advert for the venue. Not a good advert for the town. Just shit, really.
It was at the end of the night. I'm guessing it didn't come across on TV then. So it was after the final, basically, that Nathan was taken off stage and that it was just like just idiots.
Someone's lost a bet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it was at the end. I was chatting to a couple of the PDC security guys that then come and did the exhibitions as well, and even they were saying it's like idiots in. I won't say which ones, but they were like, it's always in Scotland. It's getting a bit of a reputation now,
which is not good at all, is it? Because Scotland, and I say a lot similarly to the way I do, like the Northeast, is that like they don't get enough. Like my opinion is there should be more in Scotland. I think Scotland should have a couple of Pro Tour events. I think it makes no sense not to. Like if you think just like it's as easy for most of the country to get to parts of Scotland than it is for them to get to Leicester or Milton Keynes. So I've always thought, well, it makes complete sense to have a couple. And if you are the PDC and you were under pressure to share them around a little bit, and I would offer that a couple of them up there, and it's not good for anyone, is it? Nobody comes out of that well. Frustrating, and it is always a couple of knobheads. Like this is the problem, is that like nobody comes out of it well, but it's 2 or 3 arseholes that are acting dickheads.
Yeah, and look, I get this point to a point, Dylan. But the issue is that I get people. Look, I'm open. I have a bet all the time. I love a bet. Look, but the issue is that bookmakers replace that money because the money that they have available for sponsorship, advertising, and marketing, you won't get anywhere else. And this is the reason that players are paid so well, because of sponsorship deals and things like that. So that you can't replace that money is the issue.
No, and by the same token, like I'm not going and like smashing the windows of throwing coins at car salesmen for tournaments sponsored by Kazoo. Like it's just like it's a product that people can engage with, sensibly and safely, you would like to think. And those that can't be trusted with it, like, need to just knock it on the head and keep away from it. And the rest of society shouldn't have to tolerate in any way people acting dicks because they can't cope with, in the same sense that like we shouldn't have to cope with somebody's behavior when they drink too much alcohol and act like a clown and do something absurd. Like the rest of society doesn't have to tolerate it. We just say, no, you're drunk and disorderly, you're a dickhead, and that's it. But once you get people that start fucking around and then blaming the fact that they've had a bet, again, I just think, well, they're the idiots who can't cope with it.
Yeah, look, 100%. It's just like so frustrating is the thing, because look, the atmosphere, it's still not as good as at the new place as it was the older gas and oil place. The one was electric in there, but no, it was good. Is the thing. Evening to the Littler household, watching as always. Good to have you in, Anthony, as well as everyone else in our chat room. But yeah, look, that was the downer. Look, I suppose the other kind of downer, but great for Nathan Aspinall fans, that the chaos we were hoping didn't manifest because of Nathan's really good win for Aspinall. We're not going to get the chaos we wanted in Sheffield by the look of it.
I mean, I did say that Michael Van Gerwen would win the night in Sheffield, and that's how it so I think I sort of nigh on predicted this. I just think it's a chaos arc. It's not a night of chaos. We're in for a chaotic end. I still think, and maybe it is just me clinging on to want something exciting to talk about on the Fallout Bar on Thursday. There is the potential; it's still there, but it's harder to see than it was because, not like Nathan played well. He's obviously won the night. He's now got a 4-point gap. The averages were really tight for that opening game, but I think that Michael Van Gerwen was way off the pace. It looked really tight if you look at the numbers, but
oh no, 100%. I agree.
Michael he didn't play very well.
No, I agree that he's not done himself any favours with the performance. That he was kind of only in the game because Aspinall missed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's it. He didn't play well. He was never on the front foot. He never looked like he was really. It never looked like he was going to go up the wire, did it? It never looked like it was going to be a real battle or a tough game for Nathan. Like Michael seemed to get almost what Nathan allowed him to have. Like he really didn't get himself into that game and give himself a good chance, which is like, it's frustrating because, like, just for entertainment sake, you want to see something competitive, but it's still there in it though. Like, it's still there. Again, it's difficult because there are different quarters that he could have hoped for. And obviously, I know that, if fourth and fifth, they're always going to be in there with number one because of the way the draw works. So, there is a chance that, Michael Van Gerwen gets past Nathan Aspinall, creates himself an opportunity, and then he just gets completely shut out by Litter in the second round. Again, there's lots of moving parts, though. Bunting could turn up and he upset Gezi the other night. Bunting's he's still picking up points. He's playing for pride. Let's hope that we have a night of interesting darts, because if Nathan wins, the rest of the evening is a bit flat. We're going to struggle on the Fallout for something to talk about, especially to keep it interesting for everybody. I might just have to do jokes or something where a funny do. I don't know.
Stand up on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'll see. Like, do a quiz or something like that. I have to just do something funny to try and entertain, because otherwise it's going to be a fucking long Fallout show that, man. We have to try and make some talking points and the rest of it when none of it matters if Nathan wins that first game against Michael.
Yeah, and look, game number 2, look, the highlight was the 9 darter, but other than the 9, Gezi's doubling was woeful, but the 9 was incredible. And for some reason, Gezi just has this knack of 9 darters on TV, and it's very rare that because of the way he always goes treble 19 first. If he hits that treble 19, you never feel like he's going to miss.
No, because you feel like, even though, any dart on the board is as hard to hit as any of the others, but there's a little bit of it that feels like he's done the hard work, doesn't it? Like, you feel like he's made that switch. And that from there, he's like, you don't feel like he's going to miss. Obviously, he's broken the record, so that's his fifth Premier League 9 dart finish. So he holds the record for the most 9 dart legs in that format, or in the Premier League format. He's had 2 this campaign as well. So he's got 2 sets of gold darts now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I tell you what,
he's got 60K's worth of gold just for 9 darts.
Break that 60K down to how long it's took him. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind working out the hourly rate on that. You work out, someone will do that in the chat room. There's a geek out there somewhere, surely. They'll find out the times on those 2 9 darters, how long they lasted. Let's see what his rate was for those 2 legs. 60 grand for the 2. But no, I don't get me wrong. I think it's a really good addition. We've seen it in other sports. We've seen bonuses for certain, for particular things, for certain things. I've always liked the idea of putting in, especially when, and the Premier League's probably the wrong context to talk about it, because let's be brutal about it. Or let's be honest about it. The lads in the Premier League are the dart players that aren't short of a bob or two. Like these lads are doing all right. Like then, but you know, I just think right across the board where we can have bonuses within tournaments. You know, we've seen people at the World Championships this year hitting 9 darters, and it being more valuable to them than their actual World Championship campaign. That for me is amazing because it gives people another fairy tale opportunity, and the more things that we can do, whether it's 9 darters, whether it's whitewashes, whatever it is, whether it's particular finishes. Like somebody, you know, and it sounds like the ramblings of a drunk in the pub. And at first that's what I had, and then the more I sort of thought about it, the more I thought, that's cool. Is that someone had this idea of just picking a couple of random finishes, like dead random, you know, like 1, 4, 3, 1, 2, 7, like whatever you want. Just pick 2 random 3-figure finishes and put a bonus on both of them. And see which players will tee them up and go for them, and see which players will try and leave it and go for them, knowing that there's a bonus on it. And I appreciate it affects the wider game, but it doesn't have to make it slightly more entertaining when it comes off.
So here you go, James. Thank you very much. Cracking job there. He's worked out 96 seconds for 2 9 darters.
Hey, I tell you what.
So 60 grand for just over a minute and a half's work.
What's that? 40 grand an hour? rough maths. Rough maths, 40 grand an hour. That's some hourly rate, isn't it?
Oh, that's incredible.
He's nearly on that. He's nearly on. He'll be catching up to me soon.
Chris Dobie finally put a performance in and a win to go with it. He's had one or the other that he was comfortable. Rob gave the demeanour that he wasn't really fussed about being there.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it was the boy. I mean, he still averaged a ton. You know, Rob still played relatively well. It was you put it exactly right. It was about time that he put together. It's about time that he put together both a performance and a win, because it's been one or the other. And you know, as he went through to the semi-finals, Chris, we saw the other side of it. You know, we saw him get the win, but without the performance really. And it was just, I think that second one was more important to me, though. I think in terms of from when I think about Dobie's game, the average in 107, we sort of like, we know he can do that because he's such a good scorer. Like when he starts hitting that, you know, when he starts hitting that treble 20, his scoring is so good that like we know he is capable of that. Where I think the biggest criticism of his game has been recently has been doubling, especially doubling under pressure. And him having to go to a deciding leg and take out doubles with his opponent on a finish. And I think it was nervy towards the end. There was mismatched starts. And I think that was a far more. I think Dobie should and would take more from that than he would from that first one, because he knows he can score really well. We all do. That's what he does. But I think that's not what's been lacking from his game. It's been that ability to really settle his nerves when someone's coming at him and he has to hit a double or he's lost. They're the ones that haven't been going quite so much.
And then the last quarterfinal was just incredible. And these two again showed why they are world number 1 and 2, world champion, Premier League champion, former world champion, match play champion. They were incredible. And the game itself was just spellbinding between Humphreys and again, the pair show why they are head and shoulders. And look, right now, Gezi and probably Nathan will argue otherwise, but it's so hard to see them not contesting the Premier League final in just over a week's time.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? You feel like one of them's got to have a complete catastrophe. You know, again, I say it every week. People who claim they're bored of this, I'm not sure they like darts. I think they need to go and find another sport to enjoy. I think because like it was just ridiculous. And again, the average at the end, like Humphreys having dropped off to 110 towards the end of that game because, in the averages in running upwards of 118 were just like, it's such a good watch. And it, for me, like, it's the spirit in which the game is played as well. It isn't just the fact that these two knock lumps out of each other with the score and the darts performance, but like it's very clear the mutual respect they have for each other, the enjoyment that both of them get from playing at that level and being pushed and being up there with someone who is, going blow, for want of a better word, right up at the top end of the game is like, I think it's amazing. And like I say, if you're bored of that, you got problems, in my opinion. And you're right. Regardless, the hot topic is still going to be, even though I'm not sure what odds anybody would give at the minute for for Michael van Gerwen nicking that spot from Aspinall, but you sort of think, or you get the impression that spots number 3 and 4 are making up the numbers in that final.
Yeah, look, you would think so. But just an unbelievable game.
It could go wrong, but I think it's got to go wrong for one of the Lukes. They've got to, I don't know, they've got to not be at it. I don't think someone's going to just turn up and grab it and pinch it off them.
No, I agree. And then look, you could see that semi-final that Nathan knew that just beating Michael wasn't enough, because if he'd lost the semi-final, game 1 in Sheffield was still a shootout. But the fact that he then won that semi-final was huge, because it then forced Michael to win more than one game in Sheffield. Spoiler alert, we know he goes on to win the night. But you could see the relief when he beat Bunting. He knew how big that game was.
Yeah, I didn't think he had a chance in that fight, because I almost thought it was, like we see this release of adrenaline and pressure when someone hits a 9-darter, and we talk about that release of adrenaline, and then they find it so difficult to recenter themselves and play on, and then continue to play at that level. That is what I thought would happen to Nathan. I thought once he got through that semi-final, I thought he would find it very difficult to drag himself back up and get that adrenaline flowing again. Clearly, that will to get to the final, that will and desire to get to the O2 was enough to drag him through even the final, because it's a strange one. Again, you shouldn't really look at any of the data, because 92 beats 98, average 6-1. What it's on, like, don't look at the stats, folks. It was
but again, Dobie's got a mental block against Aspinall at the moment, the same as Aspinall's got one against Littler and so on. At the moment, Dobie cannot beat Aspinall.
Do you think that is do you think that the Premier League helps develop those things? Because they are
playing each other all the time. If you've lost 2 weeks in a row to someone, you get them in the third, you're like, oh, he's beaten me the last 2.
Yeah.
If you're only playing each other once every X amount of weeks or months, you have time to forget it, where in this format you don't.
Yeah, I think it is. It's interesting, because you then wonder where that could possibly creep in when in a ranked tournament, and that starts to become a thing, and it could end up being a story. The Premier League pads out head-to-head records, doesn't it, a lot, so that when you do get people meeting it, at the match play or something like that, you've all of a sudden got this huge head-to-head record that becomes a bit of a story, but it's been manufactured by this weekly process of, especially under the current format, where there's the potential for them to all play each other so many more times than we've seen in previous years.
Chris, beating him once doesn't get rid of the record, right? Overall, Dobie's record against Aspinall is fucking horrific, and he'll say it himself. So beating him once doesn't change your mindset for me. To change your mindset, you have to do it 3, 4, 5 times.
Correct. I think, I think so, because you can get lucky once, can't you? And you can tell yourself that you got lucky once, and everyone else can tell you got lucky once. Then you can look at the averages and you can think, well, Jesus, I've averaged 6 points less than him now. How have I got away? And you can feel like you've got away with one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really rebuild that, or that confidence on that head-to-head record.
Yeah. But look, it sets up an incredible spectacle because Aspinall going on and winning his second one has put Michael Van Gerwen in the point of no return. He has to win the week. We've got some clips to play. Let's do this one first because this is quite topical.
Mate, we both said it this evening. I spoke to Gezi, I've not seen him since last Thursday, and I shook his hand. I went, well done, mate, for qualifying. I said, you've done half of it. It's down to me now to finish the job off. And, we've laughed all year about it. We know why we was picked. We proved why we was picked. And, how good would it be? I'm not counting my chickens, but if me and Gezi play in the final, that would be absolutely unbelievable. But first and foremost, you've got to forget about that. I've got to concentrate on next week. The job isn't done yet. Can't get ahead of myself. Michael is more than capable of winning next week. I've got to beat him next week, and I'm done. And then we can have a laugh. Oh. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to. But it was hard. It was horrific. I came off social media because of the abuse that I was getting. I'm not being exaggerated here, but it ruined my life for a month. Not just my life, my family's. It was horrific. But I'm a professional sportsman. You've got to deal with it, and I put things in place to deal with that. But I think me and Gezi both received the same treatment, and we've used it to our advantage. You know what I mean? And I've actually enjoyed this Premier League campaign more than anyone that I've ever played, and I think the standard has been out of this world. I think all 8 players have done themselves credit. I think it has been the most competitive Premier League there's ever been, the most entertaining, the most exciting, and to me to come out in the top 4 of that Premier League with these amazing players, I'll be buzzing.
Real insight from Nathan there. It was good.
Yeah, and he's right. I tell you what, if they do get to the final, then it's going to make the Premier League. I'm actually interested for a change in us having the next year's talks about Premier League. Because I think it's going to get really interesting, especially if those two do get to the final somehow, but then do nothing else this year. And then we see some. I think it could get really interesting next year.
100%. Danny, I didn't hear it. Vincent's podcast is in Dutch, so I don't listen to it. So haven't heard it. I'm not fluent in Dutch, unfortunately.
I would go as far as to say though, you can't expect to be rude and be invited back. Like we've always it is. There is a line that everybody needs to tread, because if people want to continue hearing interviews, then you've got to go about them in a certain way, I would have thought.
Let me play the second one because this will get people talking.
The thing is, Van Gerwen is for me is my idol in darts. He's a GOAT of darts, and if I can qualify for the Premier League campaign by beating Michael back-to-back weeks, that would mean more to me than probably any other dart player. I wouldn't say it's satisfying. I don't get any satisfaction from beating Michael. He's, like I say, you can say it then, I look up to Michael so much. He's done everything there is in the sport. I've got so much respect for him. He's helped me out behind closed doors so much more than anyone will ever know. He's helped me out so much. I've got the utmost respect for that man. So no, I don't get satisfaction from knocking him out of it, as I would probably do some others. But for me, I get pride from beating, in my eyes, the GOAT of darts to qualify.
That's very, very kind words, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 100%. That it will get people talking, that calling him the goat of darts and so on. But I like the fact that he said that he wouldn't get any more satisfaction from it.
Well, yeah, I think he actually phrased that pretty well. In that there is a professionalism about, and these lads are professional. This is their job. This is how they pay their mortgages and feed their kids. So there is a way that you can take pride in doing something and defeating someone, and you without enjoying the fact that you've defeated them and sent them home. Like, there is a way to take pride in something. I also think there is a very, there's already comments in the chat room about, whether Michael should be referred to as the GOAT, and what about Phil Taylor? And like, what I would suggest to that is, like, the bigger, if people are beating Michael Van Gerwen, or if someone's going to beat Michael Van Gerwen, the bigger that you can build him, and the more you can say about him as to how good he is, then how good are you because you beat him? Like, it's a nice way of promoting yourself by talking very, very, very highly about the person that you are defeating or have defeated. Yeah, you slipped into standard definition, mate, I think. I don't know what's gone wrong there.
I think my internet is having a little bit of a wobble. It's been on and off all day, so it'll come back on in a minute. So yes, I'm a little bit blurry and so on, but it should come back in a second.
It looks like I said we do a quiz. It looks like we're going to do a picture quiz or something. Who's this man? Who's it? Like, he'll fade you back in.
Oh yeah, let me switch over and see if hotspot works.
Oh, it's always a risk moving from one thing to another. There's a risk here. There's a risk that you get cut off. I end up flying solo, talking to all these people on a Monday night on my own. This is a risky decision. You are rolling a dice here that could lead us down a very dangerous path. Oh, dear me.
I've pressed it too.
This is what I said would happen. I knew it. He'll press a button, and now we're all stuck on our own. It's amateur hour. Oh, he's back. There he is. I thought we were on for amateur hour there.
No, so I've switched over. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I've gone to my hotspot. Let's see if
I was sending a link to ChatGPT to Vincent's podcast. Saying, what is it, ChatGPT? What does Vincent think about Phil Bars? Who needs to speak Dutch? It's 2025. I've got AI for this sort of thing.
So look, we are back. I know someone asked, is Gary playing this weekend? I haven't spoken to him. However, I would be surprised to see him, being he won the last one. I know the original entry list was done a while ago, so I would be surprised.
Unnecessary, innit? Unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. Also, let's talk, obviously, Michael Van Gerwen a minute, because he's on course to miss the playoffs for only the second time since he's been doing the Premier League. Now, we all know there are issues there, and we don't know whether they can be addressed or so on, but this will hurt Michael missing the tournament that he calls his own.
It will. I mean, I don't think anyone should be too surprised. I mean, last year, like, I remember early in the campaign last year, like, we were in Exeter, a group was sat almost talking to each other saying that it would be a miracle if he got there because of where his game was at, where his action was at, how he was playing outside of the Premier League at the time. And it's so, the problem with Michael is at the minute with the action, with the problems, is it's so many peaks and troughs that if your form is up and down, almost the worst thing that can happen for you is an extended tournament where you have to play every week for a period of time, because like you will have so many ups and downs within that period that it could be virtually impossible. Now, I think the format has benefited him, and it certainly benefited him last year. And the reason for that is under this format, you can sort of peak and trough as long as when you peak, you win a night. And that's what Michael did last year. Like he won 3 nights on the bounce, weeks 2, 3, and 4. And that was all he needed. And the rest of it, well, for large parts of it, he was crap. Like I think for another, he won 3 in a row, and then I don't think he won a game at all for 5 weeks. I don't think he won anything and didn't get past the quarters. But with this format, if your peaks and troughs, as long as you win when you peak, you'll be all right. You'll get away with murder. And that's what Michael did last year. The problem he's had this year is, I think, his form and the way that he's won matches has similarly gone up and down. He's made it to more semi-finals this year than he did last year, but he hasn't won. And he hasn't won a night. And that's the big difference between this year and last year. Everyone was unconvinced by his form last year. But when he was at it and he could find some form, he grabbed points with night wins, and he just hasn't been able to do it this year. I still think it's possible. Because I think if you said to me, like if someone said to you at the beginning of this campaign and someone went, right, Phil, Michael Van Gerwen's not going to make the top 4, you'd probably think, yeah, it's going to be tough that because his game's not where it needs to be. He's got some struggles. There's some really talented players in there. You know, him finishing outside the top 4 is I get there. We can conceive that could happen. I think the idea that Michael Van Gerwen spends 16 Premier League nights and doesn't win one, I think that's more unbelievable. I think that's harder to fathom than he doesn't make the top 4 among the talent that's there and the form that's there and things like that. I think the idea that he's not been able to gather enough form for 3 games in a row on a Thursday night, that's where I think is the bigger concern. That's the difference between this year and last year. That's why he's not, unless he does finally do that, going to be there. Because that will be the difference. You know, Nathan's had 2 night wins. And because Nathan's equally been up and down with his form. But when Nathan's found some form, he's grabbed points. He grabbed points in Manchester and he grabbed some points in Aberdeen when the form was there and when he could get, when he get those matches won, he made it count in the league.
Yeah, and to a point, and Warren says the biggest issue MvG is the intimidation factor has gone. 99% of players beat. To a point, yes, but the drop off in his game, where his B game was 98, 99. That was his B game level. And that isn't there anymore, where we still see the eye-catching stuff when he gets it right. We've seen it on the Euro Tour and occasionally in the Premier League. But for me, it's the game that is the issue in terms of the action. There's a really, really good video on YouTube that someone has broken it all down and so on. That until that is addressed, I'm not sure he's ever going to be consistent. I'm not sure you can be consistent with the dart at that angle. I don't know if it's possible.
I simply haven't got the detail, the technical knowledge of the mechanics of a throw to really weigh in too heavy on that. However, it's very clear that something's not right. And I just think, well, for me, again, amateur hour is, I don't need to break down the tiny details of the minutiae as to the angle. I can tell that when it's here rather than here, he doesn't score as many points and he doesn't hit as many doubles and he doesn't win as many matches. So, it is genuinely interesting for people that have that knowledge that I haven't got to explain the reasons why that is and why it's harder to be consistent with that angle. I haven't got
Right.
any darts in here, I don't think.
So
I left mine in the car because I was playing last night. I got a pen.
let me go like this. So prime Michael Van Gogh, it would come back and it was there, pointing up. So as he releases, the arc is perfect. It's going straight for a target. Now it comes back and it's almost in front of his. So before it was like that at his eye level. It was back to there, where now it's almost in front of his face, pointing down. So on release, like this, the dart is leaving that at that angle. So then it has to straighten in the air. There's so much going on. When like that, it's perfect. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it's down like that, you're asking your wrist to force it through to try and get the dart back to that.
You've
going
also
through there.
got a lot to do. Like you've got a lot, not just your wrist, but everything about the way you've got a hold of that dart. You've got an awful lot more to do when you are up here to get that dart where it needs to be, and compared to if you are already parallel, where you are pushing and you have already got a relative trajectory for that dart. You need to time your release right, and you need to make sure it goes where you want it to go. Whereas you've got a lot more to do at that angle in order to maneuver that dart into an angle the way you want it. And then there's all sorts can go wrong at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really interesting to
I
see.
do think, though, the fear factor, like we talked about the fear factor of Michael Van Gogh, but we've probably been talking about it for 3 years now. Like, I think it exists some places. I think it still exists on the Pro Tour. Like, I think, when I think players who are, fairly new to having a tour card and new on the tour, like, Michael is a presence as a human being as well as a dart player. Like he has a presence about him, doesn't he? Like he's not a wallflower. He makes himself known. And I can see how that people have been shitting themselves and they just bottle it. I don't think that has existed on the Premier League for a few years. Not in the Premier League sense. I think if we were talking about another tournament, we could talk about whether or not the fear factor is still there for Michael Van Gogh. I think it's long gone at the Premier League level, because these lads they're playing at such a high level and they're all capable. They are all capable on their best day of producing, well, better than he is producing on his best day at the moment in recent times. Like they are the vast majority of them on their best day are capable at the minute of producing better darts than him, and that's why I think they're not shitting themselves. But also it's not new. This has been the case for a couple of years now.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see
how many years is, and it's a bit of a road question, so you can pile me off with it. But how many years does Michael Van Gogh need to not win anything for him to not be in the Premier League anymore? Because let's be honest, he could win fucking nothing from now until next February, and he's in the Premier League, isn't he?
Yeah.
Regardless of where he's ranked in the world, he's in the Premier League. If he has another stinky year, doesn't win anything, maybe makes a final here and there, or bits and bobs, do you think then that's when this conversation starts? Or do you think he's fucking gone by that point anyway? Like, do you think he's already packed his bag?
No, I think that even if he won nothing next year, he'd still be in the year after. I think. Again, I might be completely wrong with that.
I suppose there's lots of other factors going on there as well, because it depends on who else is doing something. Like if you've got other players who are making solid cases to be included, if other players are winning pots, and this is where I think it's because if the two Luters continue to pick up all the trophies, then it's going to be really difficult to decide who the others are. because you need people to stake a claim to be able to stamp their feet and say, look, I've got this big pot here. This should get me on that exhibition tour. And that's what they need. So I think a lot of it will, and because if it's not, if nobody wins anything, then it's just going to be, who can put on a show, who'll sell tickets. That's what, because we've got nobody else banging on the door unless other people start to win pots.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you there. It's a real intriguing one. But look, between now and the match play, he has got time to try and work something out. He's not doing the World Cup, as we know. Yes, he's got some World Series events, but in those events that you can have a bit of a test and try things out. So between missing the Premier League finals and the match play, he's got the best part of 2 months to work something out and to see if he can get back.
I just don't know what that is, though. Like, I don't know whether it's just a lucky dip. Sometimes, because I think you could give him 6 months, and sometimes 2 months' time can be a bad thing because he tries something, try something else, and then you start to run out of time, because you tried too many different things, and sooner or later you have to settle on something. I think it's going to be a really tough couple of months for him not playing. In terms of his dart game, I think he'll probably love it because he'll probably have a nice time having a bit of time off and spending time with his family. And why would he not want to do that? But I think it'll be tough for him in terms of his darts game because again, he doesn't. He knows how he's playing on the practice board. He knows how he's playing with Vincent, but he doesn't know how he's going to play when he starts to meet these lads in competitive darts again.
Yeah, Ross. The honest answer is, I don't know if he can. Look, I don't know this, but I'm just from doing some research. I'm pretty sure this change in the wrist position and the break in the wrist is partly to do with the carpal tunnel syndrome that he had before the operation. Now, I'm pretty sure just by like that, where it was, that puts pressure on there. That doesn't. Now, again, I might be completely off with this, but my theory is that over time, that became comfortable and wasn't painful. Now, I don't know if he can get back to that and be pain-free. I don't know.
Well, what the thing is, and I'll speak like personally. So I had a similar issue with a tendon that's slightly different. So carpal tunnel, you have a problem that goes right, like it's sort of through the middle there, the tendon there. I had a problem with the tendon that comes on the back of your thumb. Like the test for it, you put your thumb inside your hand and push down like that, and it basically, I was in like it was that bad, it was that inflamed that when I did that, I could hear it squeak inside. I could hear them like rubbing it. It was brutal, absolutely horrific. But what happens is the pain is that bad that you become almost frightened of that returning. Like, I remember having loads of cortisone injections, but then still acting like it was the way it was when it was bad, because you just become that worried that you'll pull it, stretch it, and all of a sudden it's injured again or you're back in that pain again. So like, I can understand how somebody would not go back to what it was previously, just in instinct of like not wanting to overwork it, not because it hurts to do it, but because they're that worried about going back down that path where it was painful, especially when it's had big effects to their career and income and everything else. I can totally understand it just from personal experience. I see how it would make you hesitant to do a lot of things.
Correct. Right. Let's play the clip first, and then we'll discuss.
I don't know. I said that discussion. You will get me. I know you do it. I personally think it should be optional. I think in most work environments, a union,
Yeah.
effectively, that's what it is, is optional. You choose to pay into it or you choose not to. I'm not about to sit here and slag off the PDPA.
Well, I'll be nice to do.
I'm not sure what they do. I've not really looked into it that much, but I think people will say, "Oh, it's only 2%." Do you know what I mean? If you win, stupid amounts of money, then you're paying stupid amounts.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, then you pay stupid amounts into them. So I personally think the PDPA should be optional, and I know that a lot of other players think the same, but I think ironically, it's down to the players to get together to put that question to them. So I think that's something. I think that's something that will come about in the next maybe a year or two. I think a lot of the players are a little bit annoyed at certain aspects of it, and I think obviously there's a bit's been passed on as well now. Like, so it's the DRA rather than the PDP and the PDC working together, and
Yeah.
I think it's sort of a little bit of a get out maybe just to say, oh, we'll pass it on to the DRA when. It's a bit like, certain picks for TV events. They'll say, oh, that was Sky's pick. And you're like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of a way out a little bit, but probably delved a little bit too deep.
Yeah, good on Joe. No, do you know, like, and this is, again, like, I like to try and reference the real world. And I do it, like, at work. I find myself a lot having to sit, like, look out into the real world and remind people what what's going on outside of the echo chamber of where you are. Like, and it's something that's legitimately interesting, and it's all about what they've classified as, because, like, so in Britain, like, I'll just say, if someone's an employee, like, if they're and these people aren't employees, of course, like, why would they? We would have to fucking look after them properly then, wouldn't we? But they're not employees. And if someone is an employee, then it's illegal, like, completely illegal, to compel them to be a member of a union. Like, it breaches all sorts of rules about, like, freedom of association and closed shop practices and all sorts of different things. Like, you have a right in this country, in the UK, to not be a member of a union if you choose not to. Whilst there's lots of industries that are heavily unionized, and some people will tell you that it's the best thing you can possibly do, the idea of not joining a union is completely abhorrent and silly. You have the right to not. Again, it's like loads of things, isn't it? Like, I think it would be incredibly interesting if somebody tested it in terms, and by that, what I mean is tested the legal grounds on which people are compelled to do that. Somebody said no, but said no through a solicitor. Then I'd be really, really interested in in what came out of that. Because if somebody said, like, you cannot compete and be part of this unless you also, pay into and subscribe to that, I think it's very, very difficult to. And again, it's never been tested, has it? Like, in terms of its legal status. But the thing will be, my expectation is, well, it'll get tested and it'll be fine, because they're not employees. They don't work for anybody. They work for themselves, which of course makes them free to go and earn money. Oh no, it doesn't. No, they're not, of course, mate. So it's like, and sometimes I think, like, it's like you sort of. So I do feel a lot sometimes for the lads that are caught in both. So, like, all the ways in which not being an employee and being self-employed would normally benefit someone means you're free to, like, go and earn extra money and take on the jobs that you want and go and do this and go and do that. But they've got none of those advantages. But then all of the other protections that being denied that would afford them aren't either. So it sometimes feels like they've got the worst of all angles, because, like, they get none of the benefits of being an employee and none of the benefits of being self-employed, barring probably they can run a tax-efficient business. But
Yeah,
then, and then I think, oh well, fuck them then, because I'm getting done for 52% constantly. So why do I care? Why should I give a shit if everyone who's self-employed? I'll have a look at their tax returns and I'll see how much I care at the end of it.
Look, it's interesting that he says many players as well. Obviously, didn't name them, but he was very much of look. There are many players in this camp as well, and the only way it's going to change is if they all come together and put this forward. I don't think doing it on your own is going to change it.
I mean, it's not, is it? And we'd be naive to think it would, because it won't. The only thing that would change it would be if there was some sort of legislation that wouldn't be aimed at darts. Like, you never know quite what you're going to get under either a new Labour government, and I don't mean new Labour as in Tony Blair, but a Labour government that's new and still making policy. And then if you then end up getting something else, you get a different government. You never quite know who'll put a policy in place to try and make it either harder or easier for people to earn a living and be taxed and things like that. So it's but I think that only like being statutorily compelled would make them change it. And even then, there'll be a fucking load of back doors that you can get through to work around it as to how like it doesn't apply in this case. Like, we've seen it in loads of sports, haven't we? Like, sport's very different to the rest of the world.
Oh, 100%. That you just look at the way football clubs are run. No other business in the world would be allowed to run with multi-millions in debt and
this is it. Like, there's sport is so different.
You're allowed to lose this amount per year and be fine. Well, hang on a minute.
Yeah. My accountant doesn't have the same view. Like, he doesn't. I've tried. He's fucking not interested. He's not interested in the slightest.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But do I think personally the player should have the choice? Yes, I don't think it should be compulsory. If you want to pay in and have the benefits of it, then yes. If you don't, then you shouldn't have to.
But could you still be referred on for preferential rates for services?
What, you need the old accountant?
You might have to use a different accountant. Yeah, Jesus, imagine that. Your freedom of choice with your accountancy as well, your services you procure. But that's 100% right. I think, so not only that, but why, like, who made the rule that there could only be one? Like, let's be honest, like, I, doing what I do for a living, could join a union. I could probably choose one of, I don't know, 5, roughly, like, national, well-funded, heard of union, like proper unions that are at the table when people come to negotiate things. But a lot of people only have an option of one, fair. But there's only an option of one because no one else has set a different one up. But if somebody else did want to set one up and someone said, well, I want to set up a different association, because I know a different accountant who will give me a referral bonus, or whatever else that they're there to do, and offer as a service, then I wonder if they're free to do so. Like, does it? Can they stipulate? Can the PDC stipulate that you have to be a member of this particular exact association, or do you just have to be a member of an association? Interesting.
Yeah, 100%. It is an interesting one to come back to. Daniel, the honest answer is I don't know, but I expect it to be within the next couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to be long.
Oh dear, you don't think it'll be post match play? You think we'll have it before then?
100% it'll be before the match play. Yeah.
Good.
is my gut instinct on that. And by the way, I don't know that, but that's just what my gut instinct says. Also, we've got some nice clips here, right? By the way, the full interview is on our YouTube channel. Fantastic interview with Bo. We'll play clip 1 first because there's two parts of this. So we'll do clip 1 first.
I would, yeah. I definitely would. I would be stupid not to. I think, well, obviously, you never know when you're going to get that chance again.
Yeah.
So I would think I would take it, give it a good, was it 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Years on it, yeah. And then, but in hindsight, if I didn't get one, I'm still able to play absolutely everything.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So it's sort of like, I say a win-win, but obviously, I think I want to like have that next part of my game, the next level. Like I've been quite stuck at a level for quite a while. So I think obviously getting a tour card might push me a little bit and make me playing them better players all the time will make you a better player. And I do believe in that sort of stuff. But it's tough. Do you know what I mean? I missed Germany for the Challenge Tour, which I shouldn't have done looking back. But it's life, innit? It gets in the way, doesn't it? So
yeah, no, I get it.
It's one of them. And the Dev Tour, I think I'm still top just. So there are going to be some tight weekends coming up. But it's all part of it. And yeah, I embrace that sort of stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a very cool watch. I'm a big fan of that. The classic Casio.
Oh,
it's a very stylish. So I'm into that. That's a very cool look. I approve of that. I can't remember seeing her talk sort of that candidly about having a tour card, the prospect of having a tour card, and like sort of embracing it in that way. I think it's quite a new stance. It's very refreshing. I think it was a really good interview because she understands the options that are in front of her, and she's right. It is a bit of a win-win because you either get a tour card, you get everything that comes with it, the earning opportunities, the experience, the chance to get better. It would just play loads of interesting people at darts. Like, she clearly enjoys playing darts, and that'll be a good experience for those 2 years. If she doesn't get it, she's exactly where she is now, which seems to be pretty happy, pretty comfortable. Clearly the sport is doing things for her. That the Target announcement quite recently is big news. So, not having a tour card isn't holding her back from commercial opportunities like that. So I think, the world's her oyster still, isn't it? Interesting though to hear her speak so candidly about it.
Yeah, look, and people have been asking for so long that will she take a tour card if she wins it because she's so well placed on both the Dev Tour. Yes, she stepped down a little bit on the Challenge Tour, but she's still within striking distance and so on for that. So that gives her a huge opportunity in both. And that was the question: that would she take one? She's answered that brilliantly, and it was great to sort of speak to her. The interview is about 15 minutes long, I think, and she spoke so well on everything. Is the thing, literally everything that was asked, she takes all in her stride and so on, and doesn't hide for anything. People are asking about our new darts. I had a throw with them. Nice dart, to be fair. Right,
are they all right? Are they? Do you improve?
Right. So let's play clip 2 because this is obviously a knock-on effect, not just the tour card, but looking forward.
Yeah, probably. It's another tough one. Obviously, I feel like a broken record. Do you know what I mean? Constantly saying the same sort of thing of I don't know, or I don't know what to choose. But obviously, it is a tough decision. But I will say the last 2 times I've won at Lakeside, they haven't really benefited me in any way, which is tough. I think they have in a way, but they haven't as much as it would say if I won a game at Ali Pali type thing. It's two completely different things, but if I look back, I think it hasn't maybe done me as much as I thought it would. But obviously, to me, I don't care what anybody else says. Obviously, I wanted the world titles and I got them. So, well, like I say, I've got 3 now. Obviously, it all comes back to how much confidence I've got if I want to try and give it Ali Pali another go. I probably, at the minute, I'm leaning towards it just because the WDF isn't. I haven't got the comps to be playing in there. I have been playing all PDC and I've been really loving it. So, but even though I stand here and say all that, I could then get to the decision and choose Lakeside. So it really does depend on how I feel the week before and just what my family think as well. And obviously it's a big choice. Obviously there's a lot at risk for me. Obviously winning, I'm still obviously the reigning champion, and obviously it would hurt me to see somebody else win it. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't be playing darts if I wanted someone else to go on and win it. So
I get both sides. That's why I said
it's a really weird one. It's so weird to think about the option I actually have, and obviously there's pros and cons to both of them.
Big fan of the way she was talking there.
She did a very, very, very good job of very eloquently putting out the decision that's in front of her. However, I might be a million miles away, but I read between the lines that I think her mind's very much made up.
I think Ali Pally is the
yeah. But I think it's a great credit to her the way that she answered it, because what she hasn't done at any point is like belittled the WDF, the players that play at the WDF. Like she is the way that she talks about it is very good. She comes across really, really well. But that bodes really well as well, because, you know, the more opportunities she can create for herself to be on the television and to be, you know, more in talking to a larger audience, which she is always going to get the opportunity to do when she's playing PDC rather than WDF. She's going to get more media opportunities. She's going to be interviewed for Sky Sports and things. And obviously she comes across very well. So that can only be help to her. Yeah, I think her mind's made up.
The one thing in that, I thought the very line was interesting, and I didn't mention the WDF. It was her that she didn't get what she felt that what didn't benefit her winning Lakeside. I thought was an interesting line.
It was, and it was even more interesting when she was saying, "Now there's a big decision. There's a lot to bear in mind with it." Well, what is it then? Because if there's no benefit, it's just numbers. It's just legacy, innit? It's whether you want to be 3 or 4. Because that's what it is. It's whether you want to hold it 3 times or whether you want to hold it 4 times, and it's what you look at. So then you start to ask the questions. Well, how many is enough? What do you want that number to be? Do you want it to be 4, or do you want it to be 5, or do you want it to be 10? Like, what is it? Because I think what you then have to do is settle on what the target is. That and what she hasn't shared publicly, and I'm sure it exists within her close circle of management, family, etc., is what her goals are. What is she looking to do and achieve and get in the next 2 years? Because yes, all of those things are available to her, but what is the plan? Like, what is she actually aiming to do? Because if she wants to do another year at the WDF, then what is that for? Is it that the goal is 4? Or is the goal not 4 and the goal is actually 5 or 10? But you can't get 5 or 10 until you've got 4, and you've got to work towards it. But I think you have to really understand what the goal is and what the long game is.
Rob, yes, they were the ones that you sent me. Just out of what does that do for the WDF if she's not there? Because she really has been the poster, not just for the ladies' game in the WDF, but arguably the poster for the WDF over the last 2 years.
Well, it's not good, is it? I feel like we need the Mick McCarthy meme. I can't think of a better way of summing it up than the Mick McCarthy meme. I think
it can't
get any worse. It can. I think that's because what's left. And this is not a discredit, but I think Bo is like the last bastion of where there is a real comparative level where you can look at somebody that can, we think, move between the 2 codes and be really competitive. Outside of Bo, that I think you then immediately have a very large gap. And where is that? You know, you haven't got access to a 14, 15-year-old Luke Littler anymore. You haven't got a Bo Greaves. Whilst there are players without tour cards, there are lots of other opportunities for them to earn money, and some of that may be more attractive to them than the WDF. I think the absence of the seniors tour might drive a few more players to them, but again, I don't know how competitive that then makes it. I think it's already in a tough spot, isn't it? I mean, the goal, you know, we talked about goal, or I talked about goals and things a minute ago. Surely the goal can only be survival at this point. And I think that always puts you on like a downward trajectory. If your aim, if your baseline aim is survival and you don't meet it, that means you're fucked, you're gone. Like if you need to be able to aim up here in order to give yourself some headroom to go up and down a bit. Survival being down here somewhere. But I don't know where that, I don't know how that happens without huge overhaul, investment, luck, really talented people driving it. I don't know how it happens, and I'd love it to. I think it'd be amazing, but I don't know how it happens.
No, agreed. And look, we've been craving Bo back at Ali Pally since you played Willie O'Connor, and look, it looks like it's going to happen, which is good. And like I say, check out the full interview over on our channel. Not now, obviously. Once we finished, go and check it out, because I'd say Bo speaks so well. It's unreal. Which is good, because also it means we'll have the quota of definitely 3 women at the World Championship as well, which we haven't for the last few years, and still hopeful that we may even get 4 once we know of the reshuffling of World Championship places as well. So again, that's a good thing for the ladies' game if we could get 4, maybe even, look, might be pushing it, but 5 or so.
5, you know.
It could be 5. I wouldn't dislike that,
especially looking at some of the levels as well that could come in from the affiliated tours. Now, and again, like, with the greatest of respect, there's some, when we talk about it a lot, there's some fucking talent in there. Like, and you get some really talented dart players that can do some damage coming through those affiliate tours into the World Championships. But you're also bringing over players that on their day can be quite beatable as well. And I think you could have some carnage in there if you can get some extra women players in there, and they can meet early against some of the affiliated tour players that can be got at. Then I think you could see some really interesting things at the Palace this year.
Sadly, Marcus, I like the thinking, but I don't think that will happen. I think it will be done purely off the women's ranking. But you look at it: Bo, Fallon, Lisa, Noah Lynn, Robin Byrne, Kirsty Vinakainen, Jenna Hayter, Lorraine Winstanley, Rhiannon O'Sullivan, Katie Sheldon, Steffi Lux come back and played well, Natalie Gilbert, Angela Kirkwood, Laura Turning, Paige Paulin, Aileen de Graaf, Lorraine Hyde, Eleanor Cans. We could go on. There is now strength in depth there where 5 out of them going to Ali Pally wouldn't be out of place.
No. And whilst, again, brutally, but like, I'm not sure I'd be putting an acca on all 5 of them winning their opening game, but all 5 of them could. Like, it's not a gimme. It's not they can all turn up and play amazing darts. There is they are, you get some odds for the acca, but they can all do it. They can all compete. And they're all
100%.
those players are used to playing on stages. They've played on TV. Like you're not going to shock them and panic them, I don't think.
No, completely. And look, we'll see where these places go once they release the criteria. But I say I would definitely like to see 4, 5 would be incredible. It genuinely, it genuinely would. And Bo spearheading that would be incredible. We put something on there to look out for is the race for the match play. Now, we've only got, I think it's 8 events left. Time is running out. Look, right now, we can see Blackpool Tower on the horizon. The Betfred World Match Play is now within distance where you have to start thinking about it, and players are running out of time to get there and so on.
Sorry, go on, mate.
No, I was about to say, Anthony is in. How is Austin, Texas, via the greatest city in the world of New York? Had a good call with Anthony last night. We are preparing some stuff for NYC. Always a pleasure, my friend. But going back to, like I say, the match play, we can see the Winter Gardens starting to twinkle. It's there. Players are talking about it. Time is running out for players to get there.
Yeah, and it's really, it is getting to the point as well where, like, with every passing event, that opportunity gets narrower and narrower, especially because you need to do more than other people, and it's how many, this choice of how many are safe and how many, could potentially come around them. There's a few of them there that are sort of right on the bubble, but they'll need to do something impressive. I'm trying to think of who. I think's not safe and who I think could come. I think the big focus is going to be the 2 European Tour events. There's just so much more money to play for. Those European, in fact, there's 3, isn't there? There's 3 European Tour events, which is where the money is. That's where I think this is going to be done, rather than the Pro Tour events. Like the Players Championship, 16 to 21 is what we've got between now and then. I don't think that's where the places change. I think it's all going to be on those Euros.
And I don't think Michael Smith is at the next 2 European tours.
That could be catastrophic.
Oh, sorry, he's at ET8, not 7, I think.
He's going to Leverkusen, but not Rosmalen.
Not Rosmalen.
I'm really not sure, I think Petresco could get there because if the Christoph Ratajski win was a rogue blip, because there is only a couple of grand in that, that's
sorry, he is at both. I'm doing this on the PDC website is awful in terms of putting, and the wiki page hasn't been made yet, which is annoying.
Just ask ChatGPT. That's how you do it. You don't need to go. Don't go looking. Don't do your own research. Get the AI involved.
So, look, Michael Smith is there, but he's going to need something, because Ratajski winning that Pro Tour changed the landscape.
Yeah, it makes it. It's a big gap. Petresco's got. He's sat in 17th. He's the closest to Ratajski, and he's got $1,500 now. Like $1,500, like that's hard. The way these players are playing, picking up $1,500, because it's not just winning $1,500. It's winning $1,500 more than somebody else does. You've got to go further than they do. and you'll run out of chances quickly, especially playing Pro Tour events where you don't get paid in the first round. That's going to make your life even harder. I think from Martin Lukeman down over, it's virtually like it can happen. I don't think it will.
Yeah, and Bob says 17 to 21. I don't think it's at the moment. Richie Edhouse is in no form. Zonneveld, when he's on, he is very good, but that slinging action means very inconsistent. The Zonneveld consistency level isn't there. And this is going to sound daft. I think Scott Williams has got more chance of qualifying than Edhouse. Even though there's 11 grand difference, I think Scott Williams has the game, and we've seen the numbers over Richie Edhouse at the moment, where he is really struggling for confidence and form.
Yeah, and I think around that same level as well. And I know he's sort of done bits lately, but William O'Connor could pull something off across a few events. William O'Connor going deep in 2 or 3 events wouldn't be big news. It was sort of okay, that's the sort of thing that happens. That could put him, right on the wire. And if he's there, if he's a couple of grand away going into those last couple of tournaments, then he could maybe bridge that gap. I still think Kevin Dukes could go deep a couple of times and get within grabbing distance. I think he could make his way towards it. I think Petrescu will get there. I think the form between them all is so inconsistent, and the law of averages is that he's the closest one there. He's likely to be, I'm pretty sure he's at both of the next 2 Euro Tour events.
He is, yeah.
And therefore, like I would have 50 pence on Petrescu making it to the match play at this stage. It's going to be proper tight though, which is good. We want it to be tight. We want people to earn, like the match play. The match play is my favourite tournament of the year. Favourite tournament, favourite venue. It is, I think, the purest form of like darts competition, and you should have to earn your place there. Like you should have to, I like the fact that people are going to have to really work for it, and they're going to have to perform with pressure on, and people won't be safe until they have done so.
Question. At the moment, on the Pro Tour list, who do you think, how far down are you going, is safe?
Realistically, excuse me. If Raymond if Barney or Gurney were 500 quid ahead of each other, 250 quid ahead of each other, then I'd say 14 to 16 are the only ones that are possibly at risk. But I still don't think there are 15, 16. 15 and 16. One of them gets pipped by Petrescu. The other one gets caught by somebody going on a few deep runs.
Right. My attention now turns.
Hang on. Right. So, yeah. Go on to something else, because I'll tie myself in knots.
No, I think Watamina. I still think Barney and Gurney have work to do. And I say that because I think they can be overtaken and possibly pushed down to 15th or 16th. It's whether one of those can do enough to get to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is what I was gonna end up like sort of adding on to the end of that. So I'm glad you said it before I did.
Yeah.
Because
could I see Barney or Gurney getting caught by Joyce or Ratajski? Yes. But it's then, can Pietreczku, Smith, or Lukeman do enough to get to them? So
yeah, that's it.
right
So
now, I don't think they're safe, but they're in a good position.
I think Ryan Joyce finishes 12th in that order of merit. I think he picks up more money.
He's going to have to, because he's been poor the last couple of Euro Tours. He's not played well.
No, but he does well enough on the Pro Tour, and there's a very tight gap. You know, there's less than $5,000 there to make up, and I think it picks up.
My next question, because this affects where people go: does Josh Rock catch Danny Noppert for 16th as a seed?
Why on earth would he want to do that?
I'm not saying he wants to. I'm saying will.
If I was him, I fucking wouldn't. I wouldn't be. Yeah, my advice to him would be to not do that. I mean, yes. Look, of course, Josh Rock plays the game in its purest form. Yes, he will. Josh Rock will be a seed going into the match play.
Because then that drops Noppert into, I think, 8th on the other side. So he then becomes a non-seed.
Yeah. Again, I just think that on the balance of probability, there's £2,000 between them. You know, in those events that we've got, those 5 Pro Tour events, 3 European Tour events, do I think that on average, at the end of that, Josh Rock would have come out with $2,000 more than Danny Noppert at the minute? Yeah, that'd be my 50 pence. I'd consider taking the last few off though. If he was in 17th, I'd want to manage my schedule at that point. I might book a fucking holiday.
I'm not.
Sorry, lads.
I'm not disagreeing at all. Also, we had some news released last week that we've got some names for the World Series Down Under. Now, this is intriguing to me. So,
intriguing is a good word.
So, out of the 8 PDC representatives, we have got Luke Humphreys, Luke Littler, Stephen Bunting, Gerwin Price, Damon Heta, and Chris Dobie. And there's 2 TBC, which was interesting. It does say on here as well in the media release, the 2 additional PDC representatives competing in August doubleheader will be confirmed in due course, with Michael Van Gerwen, Rob Cross, Nathan Aspinall all missing out due to family reasons, meaning they're all going on holiday.
Yeah, family reasons is fucking tenuous. Like, that's a stretch.
Now, I'm not, because it's not in the public domain, I'm not going to name the players, but other players can't keep their mouth shut, that there are at least 4 that have said no because they'd already booked family holidays for the summer holidays.
Well, you won't find me criticising anybody for taking their kids on holiday outside of term time and not denying their children's education in order to pay top dollar and take your kids on holiday outside of school time. So they've got my full respect for that. I mean, I find it hard to, I feel like I'm being negative. I'm not normally negative. I feel like it's hard to really have a view on the World Series of exhibitions because, I mean, again, it is what it is. The idea, the very notion of having a finals at the end of it is, I find it like fun, but funny at the same time, because like, again, the idea that these people are going to qualify for a finals at the end, but we haven't picked who's in it yet, like, is quite silly. Like, it's just a bit silly. It's fine. It's an exhibition. Like, it is what it is. And you have to, if you try and convince yourself it's anything other than that, you become really frustrated. because none of it will make sense. But it does make sense if you can just go exhibition, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, they'll offer someone the opportunity. Somebody will jump at the chance. They'll earn a few quid. They're probably having to think about who they're going to offer that opportunity to, because there's a bit of darts going on between now and August, and somebody might win something. Somebody might do well. Somebody might do very well in the match play and stake their claim to that. And sometimes we've seen the PDC do it before when they aren't quite sure what to do with an empty spot for something. Sometimes it can make life a little bit easier for them to have a look at a big tournament first and see how that progresses, and do we get some rogue people through to a final, and then we can, so it makes our decision a little bit easier. It gives a bit of a prompt. It means it gives them the opportunity. You know, yes, the likelihood is the winner of the match play will be called Luke. Like, that's fairly likely. But if you have somebody different that gets to the match play final, they are then very relevant going into a World Series event in August. So,
however, I've got a dampener on that, and I might be wrong, but they're going to need working visas to go to Australia and New Zealand. Will they get a working visa in a week? I'm not sure they will.
What? Sports visas are different, aren't they? I would have thought that would be quite achievable, because you wouldn't expect there to be any reason for it to be denied. You would like to think that they could just go to the Australian Embassy in London and come out with a visa.
Even a working visa. I get a normal one, but a working visa is different, isn't it?
It is. I think it's a bit, but I think, you know, like earlier on we said, like, sport works a bit differently to everything else. I think if you're a sportsman, you go on the telly. The problem with the working visa, the problem with these visas, let's be honest, like, the reason why they look into them and the reason why they put loads of research into it and want to make sure that people can or that they do all the right stuff when granting one is because they're terrified that somebody won't come home. Like, that's what, you know, this is the thing. They're absolutely terrified that they grant somebody a visa for whatever purpose, whether it's a student or a holiday or whatever, and they don't fucking leave. They just stay there. And they don't pay tax that they're supposed to do because they're working on a farm somewhere, etc. Like, you can almost absolutely guarantee that all of the things you're worried about when granting a visa don't apply when it's a professional sportsman, because A, they're not going to just not return home to the thing they have to do in their sport next week, and B, they can't fucking disappear because they're on the telly. Like, you can see them. I would guess that something like that could be wrapped up sort of, you know, when I say 24 hours, I probably mean Monday to Friday. You can't get it on a fucking Sunday morning or something, but I'd like to think it's not a big challenge in 2025.
Evening to the Joker is in the house. John O'Shea, congratulations, buddy. Fabulous weekend for you. Well done, mate. So if you're picking those last two spaces now, who would you pick? Who would you like to see?
Tell me again who's there. Sorry.
So already there is Humphreys, Littler, Bunting, Price, Heta, and Doby.
Who would I like to see?
Or who do you think?
I'd like to see Gary Anderson. It'll never happen.
You've got more chance of.
I know, but I'd like to see it. Like, I would enjoy that very much, but I'm not going to see it. What would I like to happen that I think we could see? I'll tell you who I would like to see out there. Jan van Veen.
Good shout.
I would like to see that. I think it's a really good opportunity to put a young player who has won things, who has some credibility, future name potentially out there. And then I think you could look at you could definitely look at Josh Rock, and you could definitely look at Ross Smith.
They are 3 names that I completely agree with you with. I think another one to add to the list is Martin Schindler, based on the fact that he's provisionally top 10 in the world, winning on the Euro Tour. I think this would be a good learning curve for him if he carries on this upward trajectory that he's on. And the other one is Mike De Decker. I genuinely think he deserves something.
I'll tell you, you could probably say stakes a claim as well, you know. James Wade. Top 10. Massive name. One of the most famous dart players that has played in the PDC. It's an exhibition, let's not forget.
Yeah, look, I
could happen.
Yeah, they're the ones for me. I'd like to see some of these potential ones that we know are on the rise be almost like an audition for what could be coming next year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think, like, you know, Jan van Veen was the first place I went, because I think, well, if I had a crystal ball and said, well, you know, over the course of the next 2 years, who do I expect to see regularly at World Series events? I think he'd probably be there. Like, I think he will be a player that we start to regularly see. So, you know, if you were the PDC, why wouldn't you want to give him a go, give him an experience of that, do it when people don't want it, like, give him that opportunity then. I also know, you know, he's busy with things he does outside of darts. He's got, you know, it's probably difficult for him to commit and do certain things. It's the middle of the summer. You'd like to think he's free from any other responsibilities that he's got. Young lad, hasn't got a family, isn't leaving his kids. Like, I think he's a very handy pick.
Bob, yeah, Hopo Puhao is on the list. He will be playing. Also, we got the confirmed news that Dimitri van den Berg will play in the World Cup for Belgium. Look, we've not seen him for a while. It'd be interesting to see where he has, but confirmed that he will play for Belgium with Mike De Decker.
Yeah. You know, obviously some people will be happy with that. There'll be others not so much. You know, I think, well, you know, once he announced that he was taking a bit of a break, I think, you know, I think Kim Hybrid's probably thought, well, you know, great. I've got that opportunity. I'll get to I will get to play at the World Cup again, but it's not to be. He won't be going in as the captain. You know, he won't be going in as the Belgian number one. That
might not be Belgian number one, but I still think he will captain that side. I think that De Decker will say, look, I'm on debut here. You're still captain.
Oh. Do you know what? I don't think you can do that, right? So here's you can't do that and then say, I should be in the Premier League, I should be on the World Series events, because if you're going to shy away from the limelight and the pressure and being that number one when you are your country's number one and captaining your country, I mean, I'm not saying he won't do it, but I think that would tell me a lot, and it wouldn't make me think that guy's ready for the Premier League.
All right, correction. Let me put it another way. Say Michael van Gerwen's not Dutch number one. Do you think he's not captain? Or do you think the other guy is not going to...
Depends who the other guy is. Depends who the other guy is. Yeah, I think that's I'm sticking to that answer.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting, and look, I think I was chatting to one of the traders that England are going to go off 1-4, 1-5.
Well, it can't be any different, can it? Like, it just can't be, because like there just isn't, like, certainly with Michael van Gerwen not there, then the Dutch team is not in the form that you would want it to be coming into something like that. Likewise the Welsh, the Scottish team that we're used to seeing, like, we've become comfortable seeing two players right at the top of of the game. We're not going to see that this year. Where we've seen, no, it's unfair to say rogue nations, but where we've seen nations maybe come from the back and do really well. Australia, when we don't, it doesn't look like we're going to see that this year. I think we're going to have an interesting German team. I think that's going to be a little bit interesting. Obviously, we're not going to see Gabriel Clemens this year. We're going to see Schindler and Petrescu, which is going to be a little bit different. I think those two together could be spoilers. I think that that they've got the potential to beat other teams. They've got the potential to upset a seed. I don't think they've got the potential to upset the number one seed, especially the combination of the two of them together is bordering on the hilarious, isn't it? Like, it seems unfair. But I like the World Cup. I've always liked it. Like I said, there's loads of things, we'll get to talk about it soon quite a bit, but I'd change the format loads, but I'd only change the format because I love it, and I'd do more things. Like, I'd have bigger teams, mate. I'd have bigger teams, and I'd have a female, and I'd do all sorts of crazy stuff with it because I think it's cool as.
The Roadshow, night 16, Sheffield. The regular Premier League ends this week, and I, for one, are saying, thank fuck. We've got
the tyres on your poor car are due a break. I'll just probably do fucking replace it. The annual, end of Premier League 4-tyre change from the amount of miles you've done in the last 16 weeks.
So, one place mathematically up for grabs. It will be heartbreak for Aspinall again if Michael van Gerwen wins the night. The quarterfinals are as follows. Luke Littler takes on Stephen Bunting. Nathan Aspinall takes on Michael van Gerwen. Luke Humphreys takes on Rob Cross. And Gerwyn Price takes on Chris Dobie. So, chat room, get involved as well in the comments. Quarterfinal number 1. Littler against Bunting.
Right, I need...
How are you trying to manifest chaos here?
By having... how can this be silly? Not silly, but like... that. Bunting wins 6-4.
Littler wins 6-3.
See, that doesn't help the situation, does it?
It doesn't. I agree, but I think Littler beats Bunting.
He does.
Now, look, all eyes are on this game because it could be done and dusted in game 2. For the night to stand a chance of meaning something for a long time. Sorry, Nathan. We need Michael to win. I'm not saying he wins the night, but for from 8 o'clock onwards to mean something, Michael has to win this game. But does he?
Yep, 6-3. If Nathan wins more than 3 legs, Michael doesn't win this. Like, I think the only chance he's got is to get out in front early and keep Nathan at bay. If Michael gets drawn in, Nathan will do him. If Nathan gets 4 legs, he'll get 6. 6-3 to Michael Van Gerwen is the only way he gets it done.
I think Nathan wins, but I want Michael to win so the night means something. Michael's 6-4. But I don't say that with any confidence whatsoever. I'm just trying to keep the night going.
We want something special to happen. We want something worth talking about.
Luke Humphries against Rob Cross.
Fucking... You know, like, I'm not going to... this is where I'm at with it now. It's the last one. You have no idea how close my brain was to just going Cross wins 6-0. I don't fucking care anymore. There's nothing... Because after that match, no one cares. Like, doesn't matter, does it? No, he won't, though. He won't. But he will win 6-4. Go on, Bobby Cross.
Nah, I'm free 6-3. Gathering Price, Chris Dobie. How many legs are you giving Price?
Fucking none. No. That would be silly. That would be silly. 1. 6-1. Yeah. 6-1, Chris. Last chance. I'm not going to get to do this again until next year. Like, and let's be honest, there's a good chance Chris Dobie's not there next year. So, you know, this is the last time I get to go at it. Yeah.
Gerwin Price 6-4. I think it'd be a good game.
Yeah,
now, by your predictions, how have you got the semi-finals going?
I've got Michael Van Gerwen beating Stephen Bunting, and I've got Chris Dobie beating Rob Cross to give us another week at a Nathan Aspinall Chris Dobie final.
In my head, I've got Michael Van Gerwen beating Luke Littler to set up a final. However, I have got Luke Humphries beating Gerwin Price, and Michael Van Gerwen's record against Luke Humphries is absolutely horrific. And I've got Michael Van Gerwen falling at the final hurdle, Luke Humphries beating him, and Aspinall.
Oh, hang on. What have I done here? I've cocked up here, haven't I?
Well, Bob's gone even better. He's gone Price MvG final, Price winning 6-5 with MvG missing match darts.
Yeah. Right. I've completely cocked up. MvG gets to the final. MvG gets to the final, and he gets beat in the final by Chris Dobie.
I've got him losing to Humphries because his record against Humphries is horrific.
I think that and the problem Michael will have if he gets to the final, and I think he does. I genuinely think that Michael Van Gerwen gets to the final. But anyone he plays in the finals got a free roll, haven't they? There's no pressure on. They're playing
only Michael. There's only pressure on Michael in the final.
And I think once he's played those first 2 games with the amount of pressure that's on them, then he's playing someone like on a complete free roll who's already won 2 games. Confidence is up, knowing all the pressures on Michael. And I'm not convinced. I just don't think it'll last. It's liquid death. So that's the Monday night of choice. It's the latest. I've the last few Monday nights. Because I've been having I do work quite hard through the week, and I have to get up very early in the morning, and I have to wear a suit, and sometimes if I sink too many bottles of wine on a Monday night, it can be challenging that. So I've slipped onto a more sober approach to Monday nights of late.
I think, though, that if Nathan loses to Michael, I'm not sure how this stands up for legal rights and so on, but Nathan should be frog marched into a David Blaine type polished Pyrex box and made to sit there with a camera on him watching the rest of the night.
Yeah, he should be forced to watch. Yeah, if Nathan Aspinall wins that first game, he should be made, like the rest of us will have to sit and watch that utterly point. And in fact, like someone should just say, right, thanks, lads. Like, we'll just knock it on the, I don't know, come out, get someone to come out and do a quiz or something, do jokes.
You love a quiz, don't you?
Anything, just to keep it fucking entertaining. Like, I'm genuinely worried about the fallout on Thursday night and what we're going to talk about if Nathan Aspinall wins that first game. Like, we might have to talk through just that first game, dart by dart. Then he slipped into the 5. Like, it could just be a very dramatically reading dart by dart of what happened.
Or you can just start to look ahead to the final.
Yeah, not as fun.
Right, chat room. Have we missed anything in a week of darts? Because it's been busy weekends, and obviously there was a lot going on exhibition wise, and some really, really good darts again.
We've got a big seniors announcement coming. I was ready at 5 o'clock, and then it's going to be 5 o'clock tomorrow now.
Yeah, I'm
looking forward to seeing what that's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be something good. I quite like to. It would be nice to get to see everybody again, and everybody being back together for something. So let's. I shall keep my fingers crossed for that tomorrow.
But yeah, there's some great darts in the exhibitions. Luke, Fallon, Bo, Ricky, Stevie Beaton. There was some. There was some really, really good bits. It was just it was the car that Luke and Luke were being transported in. Someone broke the rear windscreen. I don't know the ins and outs of it.
Oh, that happened to me this week.
Yeah,
yeah, you saw that, didn't you? Absolute nightmare. I'm driving around in a courtesy car at the minute while they put mine back together. Yeah, I forgot that had happened to those two as well. I'm not on my own with broken bleeding windows this week.
14-year-old won a JDC event with 104 in the final. Wow, James, that's it's not bad, is it?
Casual. I went out of the Stockton Sunday League trebles at the quarter-final stage last night. There's a bit of darts news for you. I played exceptionally well. It was the other two's fault.
I think they were looking for the world trophy. Fair enough, Johnny.
It wasn't.
Absolute Rob still on cloud 9. Sunderland leaving it to literally the last head of the game to beat Coventry.
I hope they come up.
Yeah.
6 points, isn't it? Even Spurs will get 3 off them. Maybe 2.
We're awful.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 2.
Oh, to be fair, at the exhibition, Armageddon, Tom from Kasabian doing his own live walk-on was fucking incredible. Absolutely brilliant. We saw him do the sound check, and then when he did it live, it was incredible.
Yeah, cool. That very cool. Made me a bit jealous. That I had a busy all weekend, and I wouldn't have been able to get there. But it did make. There was a few bits that I saw of that. Just made me a little bit jealous.
Yeah. It was so good. Yeah, so good. So yeah, plenty. So we got 5 minutes then. Get your questions in, and everyone. What have we got for question time? Obviously, Dan and the boys will be back on Thursday for the Fallout Bar on the Premier League.
I got a quick. Can anyone recommend a cobbler in the northeast? There's my question. If anyone can, send me a message. Inbox me. There's a first world problem. Fucking cobble my shoes.
Connor, until it's confirmed by the PDC, we don't know, mate. Look, there has been reports that it's going to Channel 5, but until it's confirmed by the PDC, I wouldn't be taking it as gospel. Rob said Timpsons.
Yeah, the fuckers I went to today, and they wanted 80 quid to put a new sole on my shoes. £80? 80 quid?
You could buy a new pair for that.
Not a pair of them, but it blew my mind. 80 quid. Honest to God. It's no wonder, it's no wonder people rely on fast fashion these days.
Yes, we'll be streaming the Euro Tour as always.
I've been quite happy with Channel 5, you know. Like, as much as a channel, it's become a little bit, like, silly. So I'll tell you what, and again, I haven't got a fucking clue what's going on with it. Like, so I've got no inside track at all. But I like the idea of it being on an actual channel, not like the fourth channel of a network or on that network's app. Like, I have no interest in ITV carrying darts if they're only going to stick it on their app or you know, do other sorts of like delayed coverage of things. I think if Channel 5 are going to have it, but they're going to put it on actual Channel 5, then I think that's better and more prestigious than sitting somewhere on ITVX, I think.
So yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. I'm not going to Bilbao. The cost was horrific. Like, you could go
not financially, the cost to his mental health. It's nothing to do with money.
Literally, flight, one night in a hotel, you could go all inclusive to the Caribbean for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely insane, isn't it? Just profiteering off the back. Yeah, like, you know, the sport of the working man.
Yeah, absolutely horrific. Asian tour this weekend. Nice, we'll try and catch some of it. Going to New York, Connor. NYC. We will be doing a live stream with the CDC boys when we're out there, just sorting out what day we're going to do it. We're just waiting for the so we know what day the PDC are doing a load of media stuff as well. So we are trying not to clash it with everything. Not sure about Poland because it's like 4 days after we get back from New York with pretty much the same lineup.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who wants to hear the same thing from the same people 4 days later with a slightly different background?
Correct. So not sure as of yet whether to do Poland or not. But another good show. But before we go, I've just got something to bring up, and it is me making an apology. Going to go back to Live Lounge episode 192, just after the tavern, and I made a real shit reference comparing Keith Deller to one of the most horrific people in the UK. So look, it was a poor look. When we do this live, sometimes you just say things that the first thing that pops into your head or the first comparison. And on my behalf, it was a real shit comparison. So look, just an open apology to Keith and his family from me, and that the OD team as well. That it wasn't a nice comparison, and then look, I fully admit that. When you look back in hindsight, that's why it was edited out afterwards. It wasn't a good reference from me. So, and it's just an open, wholehearted apology to Keith and his family for a real shit reference. So, apologies from me on that. And look, we referenced a bit in there as well, and just so that there's no hard feelings from my behalf. And look, because I say it was a poor reference, going to donate a couple of signed bits to the Macmillan Cancer charity that Keith obviously raises money for, because like I say, it was poor judgment, the reference, and look, I'll take that on the chin 100%. I know we laughed about it at the time, but like I say, it was poor is the thing. So apologies from me and OD on that one. And like I say, we'll donate a couple of auction items that can be auctioned off for Keith's charity on that. But this will be available as an audio only as well in the morning. So make sure that you check it out or watch us back, whatever you do. But you guys have been absolutely incredible tonight. It's been a fabulous show. We've really enjoyed it. I'm going to try and line up a guest for next week. We're not on the road, so I get time to sort it out. It's when we go away for a period of time, I just don't get time to sort a guest out, which is why we didn't have one this week. But I will try and sort one out for next week. But we have been Online Darts. You guys have been incredible, and we'll see you all next week.